Good afternoon, students. Welcome again to this video class of English at Aryan Gurukul. We have chosen today one piece of poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And in this poem, we will try to understand about a responsible person. About a responsible person and the beauty of nature, how these two are interrelated. Okay, and in this broad nature, sometimes we find so much of mesmerizing beauty that influences our activities. And in this particular poem, Robert Frost has described about the state of mind of such a person who was known to be very responsible, but he stops thinking about his own destination and goal for a moment. And in this particular poem, Robert Frost narrates about the nature, and in his few words he narrates the depth of he reaches to the depth of the beauty. Okay, and according to Robert Frost, the varying beauties of nature and the apparently small but deeply meaningful joy. So the joy a person feels from the beauty of nature and what he thinks of doing the activities to reach his destination. So these two are interlinked. So as long as one is responsible, he cannot forget his responsibility, though sometimes he enjoys the beauty. Okay, so we have all the rights to enjoy the beauty, but at the same time, we should not forget our responsibility. So here, so dramatically, he wants to explain us and prove us about the responsibility of a person and how it is influenced by or affected by the mesmerizing beauty of the nature. Okay, so he is Robert Frost is highly regarded for his realistic depiction of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech. So here about the rural life. The rural life, that means the beauty of nature resides in the rural areas. So where we find some gardens, some lakes, okay, the field filled with snow, yes, and the innocent people. And here in his poem, he narrates like this in his first stanza. He says, "Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow." So in the first stanza itself, it is about the innocence of the narrator, that he feels about that place, particular place where there was a woods. Okay, so he was thinking about that place that was quite familiar to him or not, and he thinks, he memorizes, he remembers about his past experience that really he had come there someday, though that was not quite green to him. Yes, so he says, "Whose woods these are, I think I know." I think I know makes all the difference. I think I know. That means he thinks, I think I know. That means he thinks that he knows. but he was not sure about that place. But it seems that it was a well-known place for him, because earlier, someday he had come there, he had visited that place. And also another thing, in the second line he says, his house is in the village though. His house. His house means, here it is owners. Sorry, owners. Owners. His means the owner of the woods. The owner of the woods. So he even knew about the owner who lived in the nearby village. That means he had kept all the accounts of the person, okay, who owned the woods. Yes. And again, he had some doubt. His house is in the village though. Though the owner lives in the village, he will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So that wood was filled with snow, it was looking so beautiful. Okay. So it was so beautiful that he stopped there for a while to watch this, forgetting everything about himself. Okay. So he stopped there to watch the beauty. Okay. And he feels that may be the property of that owner, and he must bother. He must bother when some other person was stopping there and watching and enjoying the beauty, the property. But here one thing is so strange, that beauty has no owner. The beauty has no owner. Nobody can be the owner of the beauty. One may be the owner of that garden, that flower, that fruit garden, the beautiful house. But he cannot stop others enjoying the beauty, because that is not limited to the owner himself. Yes? So beauty is to sad. Beauty can easily be sad. That's why nobody can stop. Nobody can stop beauty from others to enjoy it. Okay, so this is the strange thing he wants to convey. That means this is the message to all, that beauty, that means nobody can be the owner of a beauty, though he can be the owner of any property. That means beauty cannot be anybody's property. Yes, though that enhances his personality, though that enhances, that increases somebody's status, but that cannot be his own property, could not be shared with others. Okay, so in this particular first stanza, he narrates about his experience, his past experience and the recent experience. That he stopped there, he experienced the beauty, and he stopped there to enjoy that beauty, and he was very confusing whether the owner of that beauty must have some objection. Okay, but as he was not there, it is quite comfortable for him to stop there and enjoy the beauty. Understand? So here he creates some confusion in us, that whether anybody could be the owner of beauty. Yes. So here from this first stanza we can say the atmosphere of the scene, or about the place where he stopped. So that was a grove, and which was fully covered with snow. It was looking so beautiful that the narrator or the poet stopped there for a while to watch it. Okay, when the owner was in his village, in his house. Okay, so in the second stanza, here it is another dramatic situation that may be beyond our imagination, but he writes here, my little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So, in the second stanza, here comes another character, the horse. Okay, the horse. Okay, who is always with the narrator. Okay, and the horse is the companion of the master. Okay, and the master knows everything about the horse mentality or attitude. Okay, so he thinks that the horse must be thinking something queer. Queer means strange. Queer means strange. Okay, so the horse must be thinking some strange that my little horse, here little means dearest or cute, and another here it is written humble. Okay, so here little means dearest or cute or humble. Okay, he calls this his own horse as a little horse. That means it was quite dearest to him, and it must be thinking something strange because he stopped there. Because to stop without a farmhouse near, because the horse knows everything about the owner's likes and dislikes. Okay, and usually the master stops in such a place where that place was so comfortable to live, okay, and so much comfortable to spend the night there. So as he stopped there at such a place where there was no such facility to live in, that's why he thinks it is quite strange. Okay, it was quite strange for him to for his master to stop there without a farmhouse. Okay, and between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Okay, and that was quite peak of winter, and in that winter season, in that cold weather, how could one imagine to stop there? How one could wish to stop in such a place where there is no shelter to live in? Okay, and about that place he narrates here that there was a lake, and that was a frozen lake because it was quite winter. Okay, it was quite cold. And in that cold winter, how one can think of living in such a place or stopping in such a place where there is no shelter to live in? Okay, so this was the strange feeling of the horse to think about the mentality or the wish of his master. Okay, so my little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near between the woods and the frozen lake. Okay, and that was such a place where there was the woods and beside it there was a lake, but there was no farmhouse to live. And the darkest evening of the year, the darkest evening of the year means that was the winter season, and usually the nights are very dark and long. Okay, and here in such a darkest place, how one could think of stopping there? So it was quite a strange, what you can say, decision to take. Okay, it was a quite strange decision, maybe a wrong decision. That's why the little horse was thinking like that, and it must be thinking. Who is thinking this? That the narrator is thinking, the poet is thinking that the horse must be thinking. Okay, the horse must be thinking, the narrator is thinking. Okay, so in the next line it is, he gives his harness bells a shake. He means here horse. The horse shakes its head. Okay, shakes its head and rang the bell that was harnessed, that was tied to his neck. Okay, and it is reminding or cautioning the narrator, the owner or the master that he must have done something wrong, some error, some mistake. And it is reminding because the horse was always staying with him and he knows about her, about his likes and dislikes. Okay, if somewhere or somehow any error happens, it is the duty of the companion to remind him, and the horse is doing that duty. Yes, and he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flag. So the horse was ringing its bell and reminding the master about his mistakes, if any. The horse was not also sure. It must be thinking that there might be some mistake by its master. But another thing you see, and that was breaking the silence of that moment. And that was not the only sound. There were other two sounds. Those are to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds. There are another two sounds. That is sweep of easy wind. Then in the evening, that was the coldest moment, and then the wind was blowing slowly, and that was also creating some noise. And another, that is downy flake. The downy flake means the flake means a piece of snow. The pieces of snow were also dropping. Okay, and when they were hitting any leaf, they were creating some noise. So these are other two sounds joining to the ringing of the bell and breaking the silence of the moment. Okay, other than these three sounds, though they were very low, other than these three sounds, the whole atmosphere was peaceful and silent. And in that silence, the narrator, the poet, was enjoying the moment and enjoying the beauty of that woods. Okay, that was covered with snow. Yes, okay. Now, in the next stanza, which is very much important and that brings all the light to this poem, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. The woods are lovely. Here you see, the narrator, here describes the beauty of the real beauty of that place, the forest, the woods, that was lovely, dark and deep. These three have different meanings. Lovely, beautiful. Okay, dark. Dark means that is too dark. Okay, that can't be seen. That means it is beyond the sight. Beyond sight. Okay, or you can say rare. This is a rare sight. He uses this dark. He uses this dark for this rare sight. Though it is so dark, it looks very beautiful. Okay, it is evening and it was quite deep. Deep is beyond imagination. Beyond imagination, it is too deep to look at. That means it is beyond imagination, that beauty was beyond imagination. And another, here deep means dense. Okay, so it is quite dense. The forest was quite dense and it was looking lovely and it was quite dark. That is beyond sight, or it is a rare sight, he means to say. Okay, so the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. So it was so mesmerizing, so attractive that he stopped there for a while to enjoy the moment, enjoy the beauty. But the very moment he remembers his promises that he had made for himself and for others. Here, this line says that, indicates that the narrator, the poet, was a responsible person. He never forgot his own responsibilities towards his life, though he stopped there for a while. Okay, he enjoyed that moment, but he was not deeply attached to that sight. Okay, he enjoyed for a moment, and again he remembers his own responsibilities and he marched towards his goal. And in next line he says, what he says, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Here the same line has been repeated. Okay, the same line, the repetition of the line indicates that about the sleep. Sleep makes all the difference. Sleep and sleep. So one sleep is rest and another sleep is death. Okay, before death, whatever we want to do or accomplish or to fulfill, that we must complete. Otherwise, that can never be completed. That's why before he takes rest, he wants to complete his responsibility. So, in other words, if you take it, there is no rest before completion of any work, or there is no death before completion of any work. That means before death, he wanted to complete his promises, keep his promises that he had made for himself or others. Okay, so this is about a responsible person who makes promises to himself, though he was attracted by so many beautiful things around him, but he never forgets his own duties and responsibilities. Okay, that is the theme of this poem. That's why this poem is a favorite one of our former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. And Jawaharlal Nehru was too much inspired by this poem, and he made so many goals of his own, and subsequently he had been successful. Okay, so this piece of poem you must take into your hearts, take into your nerves, so that you will remain always successful. That means as long as you don't complete your work, we need not take rest. So before that, we must keep our promises that we have made for ourselves and for our life. Okay, so this is all about our stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Hope you understand this well, but this is my request and advice to all of you to go through this line and try to understand the different meanings of the common words therein. Okay, thank you very much.